There we go. Good morning, everyone. This is Professor Dawn Wooten, and I'm going live on my studio channel on YouTube today for Education Unveiled. I've been spending a lot of time on Twitter these last few days trying to get a sense of what it is about education that people are most concerned about. And it's clear that agendas and ideologies are the primary concern of parents and others who have a vested interest in what's going on in our schools today. So let me put it to you this way. Here's how I feel about it. Every student, every administrator, staff member, teacher, parent, anyone involved in a school deserves basic human respect, meaning we don't call them names, we don't treat them differently, we don't point them out, we don't single them out, but we also don't get overly involved in their lives. The idea of schools involving themselves in trying to get students to transition to another gender without the permission or knowledge of their parents is criminal. That is my opinion. Because parents are ultimately responsible for the health and well-being of their children. It is not up to a teacher to decide that a child should transition because maybe they sometimes feel like a girl sometimes feels like a boy, or a boy sometimes feels like a girl. Those are natural things that occur during childhood. Those are proper growth feelings. It doesn't mean the child is transgender. It means they're curious. It means that they're wondering, I wonder what it's like to be that way. Or for like me, for example, I was a big old tomboy. I was into sports. I played with the boys. I played in the creek. I fished. I rode my bike. I played basketball. I did all of those things, but I wasn't a boy. I was a girl who liked sports. Just because a girl likes to go out and play in the dirt and collect bugs and stuff doesn't mean she wants to be a boy. It just means that she has curiosity in those areas of life, or she enjoys sports. I enjoyed playing sports because I'm highly competitive and I love to win. And I'm the same way now today. I'm a married woman. I've been married for 25 years, going on 26. I have a lovely daughter who just got married, a wonderful son in law. I am happy and healthy, and I never had thought ever of transitioning to a boy just because I like to play sports or just because I was curious about what it's like to be a boy. These are natural curiosities. No one has the right to tell a child who is still developing, whose reasoning centers in the brain are still not even fully developed. These are people taking advantage of a situation and trying to make a statement or push an ideology or push an agenda on an innocent child. As I said before, in my opinion, that is criminal. I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, I'm a woman. As a teacher, I would never interfere with a person's choices. Now, I teach mostly high school age adults. So by the time they reach the ages of 16, 17, 18, they have a better idea of what it is that they want to be and who they want to be and who they are. And my job as a teacher is to teach them. I teach them how to write. I teach them how to do critical thinking. I teach them how to do research. It is not my job, nor any of my business for that matter, to interfere in their personal lives. It's not my job. Now, some of you might get a little offended and say, but what if a child's being abused? Well, that's completely different. That's a legal matter that you as a teacher are required to report. If you suspect a student is being abused, you report it. You protect that child. But just because a child indicates they're curious about the other sex, that doesn't, and their parents are trying to help them maintain their God-given gender, that's not abuse. That's called parenting. I'm so sick and tired of this argument. I don't hate trans people. In fact, I know a few. I have always loved and supported them because it's their choice. It's their choice. And I honor that and I love and respect them. I don't have to agree. I happen to believe that gender dysphoria is a real mental issue. I don't want to say illness, but it's a problem. It's someone who is uncertain of who they are and they need therapy. I was uncertain of who I was in my early 20s and I went to therapy constantly because I didn't know who I was. And it had nothing to do with my gender, it had to do with how I saw myself in the world, you know? And I know people who feel they're transgender. And like I said, we need to respect their choices. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Love them, pray for them, be there for them, help them. I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say that I disagree with that lifestyle. I'm allowed to say that I think that it's a mental problem that needs therapy. I am allowed to say that I will love, respect, and honor every single one of those people for their choice. But I do not have to agree. I should never be silenced. The safe space movement in schools is about giving kids who are perceived as different a place they can go and not feel attacked or judged. Nothing wrong with that at all. But why is it only for members of the LGBTQ community? What about kids like me who were constantly bullied for no other reason than being a big kid, for no other reason than being a tomboy, for no other reason than being smart? Why do these safe spaces have rainbows on them? Meaning, if you're not part of this community, this isn't a safe space for you. Where's a safe space for me or kids like me who are constantly bullied, have their property destroyed, their assignments stolen, their books taken, beaten up, and they don't happen to belong to that community? Where's the safe space for them? I want to know, where's their safe space? I sure could have used one. Instead of a safe space, I just had to defend myself. And that can lead to violence, and it can lead to long-term depression and anxiety. It's like the schools have abdicated their responsibility to teach reading, writing, spelling, arithmetic, geography, real history, not revisionist history. That's their job. Teach kids the things they need to know to be successful in the world. It is not your job as a teacher to get involved in their personal lives, with the exception of if the child is in danger. That's the only exception. If the child is in danger, you help them, you protect them at all costs. But a child whose parents are not interested in letting you guide their child in a transition is not child abuse. That is not child abuse. I can't say it loud enough. That's not child abuse. That is parenting. Let me speak to teachers who have no children, okay? For a long time, I didn't have kids. And then I was able to adopt my wonderful daughter. She had her own mind, wanted to make her own choices, wanted to make her own mistakes. I let her. If she had come to me and said she really thought she was a boy, I would have gotten her the help she needed. I would have taken her to a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, counselor, whatever, so that she could talk openly and safely about why she thought that, why she felt that way. And if she truly was trans, which is, by the way, less than 0.1% of the population, I would have helped her through it. I would have supported her, loved her. I would never have judged her. It is not the right of teachers and schools to judge parents for how they handle this situation with their children. It's not your business. Your job is to teach your subject. If you're an elementary school teacher, it's your job to teach all the subjects. Social agendas, ideologies have no place in the classroom. If you want to talk about those things in high school social studies, that's appropriate. The children at that age have some sense of how to reason and think critically and discern and make decisions for themselves. Elementary school students, their brains simply haven't grown that much. The reasoning center of the brain does not fully develop until you're in your mid-20s. Why do teachers think that children who are 5, 6, 7 years old know that they're transgender? No, they don't. They're just curious. They've heard about it, and maybe they think it's, well, that's kind of cool, but that's really immature thinking. Why are we encouraging this? If a child is curious about the other gender, let the parent handle that. Simply drop them an email and say, hey, by the way, your kid said this during class, thought you might want to address it at home. Thanks so much, Mr. or Mrs. Teacher. That's it. That's all you got to do. That is as far as your responsibility goes. I currently teach at a high school. I have a student who is struggling with identity right now. I do not treat that child any differently than I do the others. If that child comes to me and wants to talk and vent or just get advice or opinions, I'm there for that child. I tell them what I think, but I also tell them it's what I think. But what's important is what they think. And that if they feel like they need help, they should talk with their parents and see about getting some counseling if it's necessary, or maybe they're ready to transition and it's time to talk to a therapist that specializes in that. I mean, do people understand that in order to get transition surgery once you're a certain age, you have to get signed off by psychiatrists? They have to say that you have genuine gender dysphoria, that you have that you're genuinely a transgender person, and that you are psychologically capable of handling the transition. The problem with elementary school age kids is that parents make that decision. Parents can put a child on hormones without ever having taken their kid to a therapist. Excuse me, why? Parents of these kids sometimes, and I'm not saying this is a blanket statement, sometimes are just overreacting. They are being pressured by society. They're being pressured by teachers or other parents or members of the community to transition their child, almost as if it's like, oh, great, transition your kid so we can have another one on our side. That's kind of how it feels. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's how it feels. And why is it okay that trans people or other people within the community can come out and say that because I'm a Christian, I'm racist and transphobic? I'm clearly not. I'm not transphobic. I love all humans equally because I'm a Christian, because that's what Jesus taught, and that is what is expected of me. I never make fun of someone who is having trouble identifying themselves, who has gender dysphoria, who's gay, who's lesbian, who's questioning, queer, whatever. I just love that person. I don't have to agree with their lifestyle, but I do love them. I do respect them. My very best friend for almost 20 years was gay, and he was an amazing person. And when he died, my heart died because I loved him. He was a major part of my life, of my husband's life, of my daughter's life. In fact, he introduced my husband and I. That loss, even though it's been 17 years, it's still so fresh. Just because a person is a Christian doesn't mean they hate trans or homosexual people. In fact, it's the opposite. Most Christians welcome them. We may have disagreements, but we still love them. We still love them. Trying to get it back together. This is the problem with doing live, is if you get emotional, you can't do anything about it. You can't cut it out. I'm sick of being told that I'm transphobic. I'm not. But I don't think it's right to push something that a child may not even need onto them without their parents' knowledge and permission. Just because you're a teacher doesn't give you the right to ruin a child's life. Doesn't. Read up on the detransitioners, how messed up their lives have become, how much pain they're in, how many of them think of suicide daily because someone pushed them to transition when they didn't want to or when they shouldn't have. Children will do anything to please adults. That's why this is so insidious. You know they'll do what you want them to do because they want to please you. I can't wrap my head around the evil it would take to push a child who's elementary school age to transition when maybe they shouldn't, when what they need is to talk to a doctor and talk about their gender dysphoria and figure out what it is they really feel like. By pushing them into transitioning, you're taking away their choice. You're taking away their choice, and you're taking away the rights of parents to care for their child and take care of their well-being, as is their right and responsibility. You are not the parent. You do not get to make that choice for that child. Clearly, I'm very passionate about this. And if the current movement was, we need to push all girls to wear dresses and all boys to wear pants, I'd feel exactly the same way. I don't think that gender stereotypes are necessarily a good thing. If there was a movement right now to take all children back to the standards of the 40s and 50s, I would just as strongly disagree with that as I'm disagreeing with this. Because we have learned over time that it is more important that people are who they are, that they're comfortable in their own skin, and that we don't push a societal agenda on them. It's the same exact thing. Pushing kids to be trans when you don't know if they are or not is criminal. And forcing girls who are tomboys to wear dresses because society says so is also criminal. You don't do that to kids. You don't do that to kids. I'm going to wrap this up before I get really irritated, because trust me, this is not even close. But I do hope that if you've watched this video, you understand where I'm coming from. As a parent, as a teacher, our children do not need teachers to help them transition. They need parents who are aware of the situation, who can talk to their child, who can get them to a doctor if necessary. It's not your job. It's the parent's job. Thank you for watching this video. I apologize for my emotionality, but I really want to protect our kids. And sometimes somebody just has to speak up. And that's what I'm doing. I'm speaking up. And I don't care what the consequences are. I could lose followers. I might get in trouble with my work. Don't care. It's more important that people understand it's a parent's job to help their child medically, not a teacher's job. And I thank you for watching. You be blessed and have a great day.